And welcome back to Crosstalk, where today we're talking with author Joseph Klein, author of a number of books, plus the author of the new book coming out next week called Lethal Engagement, Barack Hussein Obama, the United Nations, and Radical Islam. And there's so much to be learned about this. I shudder when I think about many in our population that go around unwittingly, never doing anything to learn or read up on some of this stuff. And then when the roof falls in, we say, what made it happen? Well, this is a house that's been built, and you're seeing it now crashing down because the foundations are weak. And so we've got to deal with this thing. We're going to go right now to the state of Kansas. Mark, you are on the air with Joe Klein. Go right ahead.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
Okay. How are you?
I'm well. With Antichrist, meaning against Christ, and the situation of Antichrist being something or someone that usurps Christ's name and rights, I guess my question would be, why are people looking for an end-time hostile person when, in fact, what I'm hearing being talked about with Islam, meaning submission, why aren't we looking at the Antichrist being an end-time power that would want to destroy Christ and his church?
Well, it's a great question, partly a theological question that I'm not sure I can give a great answer to. But I do think that what we're seeing in our secular institutions that will spill over into our sense of ourselves as essentially a Judeo-Christian country. We're seeing the seeping in of a very alien ideology. And I'm not, again, talking about the strictly religious aspects of Islam in terms of their own devotional prayers, their decisions relating to fast and self-sacrifice. What I'm talking about is that political and social ideology under the banner of Sharia that, however you want to characterize it, whether it be anti-Christ or anti-Judeo-Christian, I think it's also eating away at our moral fiber and at our liberties.
You know, Mark, I hear you saying this, and I think one of the things oftentimes in Christian circles you hear reference to not only the Antichrist personified, but the spirit of Antichrist. Mm-hmm. And when you think of like these three little Christian girls that were going to a Christian school and they were beheaded, this antagonism toward Christianity is defined. A lot of people say, well, in fact, even Mr. Bush got it kind of confused where he said, well, we're all worshiping the same God. No, that's not what the book says at all. In fact, Islam's book says that there's one God, and Allah is his name, and Muhammad's his prophet. And and that's a totally different God than we serve.
Well, this we need to wake up because this ideological power is Antichrist. It is. And
right.
We need to wake up because we are just asleep. We are asleep in this country. This is dangerous.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate the call. From there, we're going to go to Waukesha and talk with Ernie. Ernie, Waukesha, Wisconsin. Go ahead.
Sir, I'm a military veteran, and I was calling up about the Guantanamo Bay detainees.
Yes.
When they're at war, they're military combatants. I don't think they should be tried under military tribunals under Geneva Convention, not as U.S. citizens. And I'll listen off the air.
Thank you. Your comments?
Well, I think that's one of the fallacies of the Obama administration, that they are confusing constitutional rights for people, either U.S. citizens or U.S. residents, and trying to universalize that to our enemy. The detainees in Guantanamo should be tried as enemies of war, and their illegal combatants and dealt with in that fashion, especially Sheikh Mohammed, Khalid, the mastermind of 9/11.
We're going to give our number 800-733-9829, 800-733-9829. Got some open lines. If you dial quickly, you can get in, 800-733-9829. What we're seeing, of course, is the radical reaction toward, they make reference to the people of the book. Of which book? That's the question. And as we're taking your calls, right now we're going to go to Daniel, who's in Rice Lake, Wisconsin. Daniel, you're on the air.
Hello. Newt Gingrich recently said that in order to understand Obama, you have to understand Kenyan anti-colonial behavior, because Obama's father was a Kenyan who also was a Muslim. Do you have any idea what Gingrich meant?
Well, I think what he meant was something that Glenn Beck has also been saying, which is that you have to look at Obama through the oppressor versus the victimized, the eyes of the victim, and he views the West, partly I think because of the experience of his father at the hands of the British, as the oppressor, and he views Muslims not making real distinctions among them. And countries of the third world as the victims. And that is part from his childhood experiences, and I think partly from Saul Alinsky, whose readings influenced Obama as a community organizer, and also his 20 years in Jeremiah Wright's Liberation Theology Church.
You know, Joe, what frustrates me when I listen to people talking on the liberal side, and they blather on in vague terms, keeping it linked to religion and prayers, but they do not even make reference, hardly at all, to the educational program, the training camps that we have all over the United States, Islamic training camps for kids. These things are there, and people just kind of, it's their right to pray. Well,
that's why I've tried all along to make that distinction, because we're not talking about their right to pray voluntarily to the God of their choice. We're talking about their notion of Islamic supremacy and the attempt to indoctrinate everyone else that only Islamic ideology has any validity. And yes, we're seeing, even here in New York, where there were stories recently about how history books and curricula are now painting Islamic history as one of great tolerance and lambasting Europeans and Christians in particular as the oppressors, coming to the New World, and et cetera.
We're going to go right now to, we've got Ernesto in Waniwak, Wisconsin. Ernesto, you're on the air. Hello, Ernesto.
Oh, hello, Vic.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for having me. I am very blessed with your program. Thank you to Mr. Klein for the book that he got him out. What I want to say is that we always talking about the religions, where we got Christian, Muslim, this and that. But when we're talking about Muslim, Islam, it's not only a religion; it's a government too.
That's right.
It's an ideology.
Yep.
So it's an ideology that is going farther than a religion or believing.
Mm-hmm.
And we give them all the rights to be in this country, and they attacking us and doing whatever and talking about us, and we can do nothing. Just pray for them to convert to us, but you know how hard that is.
Well, they want us to accommodate our system to their unique needs, and again, one of the prime examples being our tradition of free expression under the First Amendment is supposed to give way to their sensibilities about any criticisms of aspects of the Islamic ideology.
There's a term that people don't often use, but it years ago they used to talk about it. It's called anarchy. An anarchist is one who seeks to come in and literally subvert, or if not change, the government. And here we're being invaded with anarchy, and everybody's just kind of smiling and saying, "Wasn't that nice?"
Well, I hope this isn't what Obama meant when he talked about needing a fundamental transformation of America.
Well, I guess you have to examine the tree by its fruit. We're going to go right now to Port Charlotte, Florida. And Mark, you are on the air with our guest, Joe Klein.
Yes, this is Lawrence from Florida.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, Vic, that it's kind of ironic that we still have to even talk about things like this, because as true believers, we need to understand that the plan has already been laid out by God. And even though there's a spirit of Antichrist, we need to understand that there will be a figure that will be the Antichrist.
Oh, yes.
The last thing I want to say, Vic, too, because I've been thinking about this for the longest, because this Islam thing keeps coming up in our face. And I'm thinking maybe we as Americans need to all pitch in. We need to help them build this mosque right there near Ground Zero. We need to make sure that that mosque is filled with 3,000 or 4,000 Muslims. We need to blow the mosque up, and then 3 months later we need to say, hey, by the way, us Christians want to build a church right here and a center right here so we can dedicate it to all of these people that we killed. You know, because that's kind of what they're doing. They kind of slap us in our face. The other thing is this, and this is to every Muslim out there listening: you will not hold true Christians hostage in any shape, form, or fashion. And that's kind of what they're doing in this country. So for us, we just have to keep showing the face of Christ, and we have to stay on task and understand that a lot of the politicians aren't really religious persons. I can't say that our president is a Christian. He's never. How often do you hear him going to church? How often do you hear of him doing anything? Well, he prays, and his religion is private to him. You're the leader of the free world, buddy. If you're a Christian, everybody should know that. So I just think we got to stay on task as a Christian people following Christ. We have to try to let the light shine as best we can, meaning getting better every day. But we need not fear the enemy, because we know what the end result's going to be, Vic. We know who wins. We win.
That's right.
So that's all I got, Vic. Thank you.
God bless you, Mark. Port Charlotte, Florida. Thank you. God bless you, buddy. And moving right along here, Racine, Wisconsin. Sue, you're on the air.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you for taking my phone call. I was wondering, please, if you could just talk about the practice of, or the concept of a hudna. As I understand it, it's part of the Hadith, and it is a law which allows Muslims to go into a contract with someone that is not of the Muslim faith and then promptly break that contract.
Well, I really don't have enough knowledge to go into the specific legalities of the hudna, but I do know that the idea of deception in taqiyya is built right into Islamic practices, so that wouldn't surprise me at all.
There we go with another break. We'll be back in 60 seconds, and good question there. We shall be back with callers from Twin Falls, Idaho, Rossville, Georgia. We'll return in a moment.
For the Worldview Weekend Minute, I'm Brandon House. I want to give you action plan number 4. I've been giving you 5 action plans, 5 action points for how to respond to what's happening to America and the world. The first one was become a biblical worldview instructor. The second one was it's not about being popular, but about being faithful. The third is our source of strength is not ourselves, but God. The fourth is this one. The battle is for a limited time, and even when we appear to be losing, we're actually winning. 2 Corinthians 4, verse 16 through 17 says, "Therefore do not lose heart, even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory." My friends, this is the action plan we must be involved in, making a difference, continuing to understand that it's not about doom and gloom, it's about proclaiming the gospel and making disciples. My website's worldviewweekend.com, worldviewweekend.com.